Portugal has been described as the star pupil of the Eurozone crisis countries. Its economy is recovering better from its deep recession. Joining me down the line to discuss the country's latest austerity plans is José Maria Brito. José, the government laid out plans for savings in 2015 worth €1.4 billion on Tuesday. After 3 years of painful austerity, the Finance Minister assured no new tax hikes or wage and pension cuts will be needed. Are these goals achievable to your mind?
Well, I think these announced cuts are achievable in the sense that because they are spending cuts, and unlike tax revenues, they don't depend on the economic cycle. So it's up to the government to manage those measures efficiently. When you look at these cuts, 50% of them are related to basically government intermediate consumption, things like consulting fees and lawyers' fees. And so I think that the government to announce these measures is because they have identified the savings, and so I think they will be able to manage. Of course, the achievement of the overall fiscal goals are dependent on the economic cycle, and we know that even though there's been a quite resilient recovery in the Portuguese economy, there's always uncertainty regarding these processes, and so we cannot rule out any relapse into a less favorable economic environment.
There is still a lot of talk regarding whether Portugal will require a safety net or can follow Ireland's example and re-enter the markets unaided. Ireland had a €20 billion cash buffer sufficient to cover its funding needs for a year when it exited its programme. Portugal's cash cushion isn't yet quite so far advanced. Is Portugal still too vulnerable to future market stress to go it alone, do you think?
Presently, the Portuguese Treasury has around 16 billion euros of cash buffer, and is programming to issue another 3 to 4 billion in the coming couple months, and so it will reach a cash buffer similar to Ireland, and so I don't think that will be a problem to cover the funding needs well into 2015. That's the first issue. The second issue has to do with the fact that Portugal, if it opts for a clean exit, can always access to the precautionary line of the European stability mechanism if the financial market conditions deteriorate. So I don't think it will be a problem for the Portuguese government to choose a clean exit like Ireland did.
Frankfurt, Brussels and Berlin remain concerned over the degree of political commitment in Portugal to maintain the momentum of its adjustment process after the formal programme is ended, especially with next year's general election coming ever closer. What is the feeling in Portugal at the minute, though?
Well, I think that the fears in the political capitals of Europe are ill-founded, in the sense that unlike other European countries, in Portugal there are no political parties anti-Europe that can challenge the status quo. So I don't think that any political forces that will have the government reins in 2015 will be against Europe. And that's basically the feeling in Portugal. In Portugal, people talk about restructuring the debt in the sense that they want to negotiate better terms in terms of maturities and costs with their European partners, but there's no issue of basically trying to get out of the euro or any sense that Portugal will not comply with its commitments. So I don't think there's a really problem there.
Just this morning, Portuguese government borrowing costs tumbled to fresh multi-year lows as investors increasingly price in the launch of quantitative easing by the European Central Bank. Now, Portuguese bonds had been quite attractive early on in this year, but what is your outlook moving forward?
Well, it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a very, very good rally. But I think it has, further legs to go. If you look at what Irish bonds, for example, are doing, or Spanish for that matter, I think that these new measures the European Central Bank is contemplating will surely help, the Portuguese bond market, and so I think we could see some further compression of risk premia. Of course, they yields have fallen a lot, and as they continue to do that, then there's fewer space for these movements to continue indefinitely. But I think the prospects, at least in the short term, are good, and unless there's a big international financial markets shock, I think that things are pretty controlled on that front as well.
Jose Maria, thank you very much. Well, that's all from Jose Maria and myself for the moment, but make sure you click back to the website for today's press review with Natalie MacDonald, looking back at Janet Yellen's speech. Goodbye for now.